Are we live there, Connor? There we go. There's everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Wrestle Zone Unfiltered, part of the All Elite Zone podcasting network. Be sure you find us everywhere. Check us out. We're talking about all shit, all kinds of ways, different companies, and just whatever flipping mood we happen to be in this evening. And starting it off down at the bottom, our resident diva, Danny, back in the house. Miss Danny, how you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm freezing. Wisconsin, Chicago peeps, we're all freezing. It's 2 degrees where I live. We've got on the AEW shirt and we've got our favorite couch blanket. So we're good. We're cold. I'm excited to be back. I can't wait to tell you about Dynamite.
Dynamite. And up top, our resident boss, the man that makes it happen, Mr. Connor Hayes. Connor, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Should be a good show tonight. That's all I got to say.
We're in for a really big shoe. And yeah, it's a new setup, David. Excuse me. That's why we're a little late. We were playing around, getting some new settings fixed and talking about football while Connor was fixing it all out and letting us old people just chat while he did his thing. So we're going to get into it tonight. We're talk about AEW All in Texas. And I'm just going to preface it before I get started with don't come at me with I'm shitting on AEW because I'm not. But I got a lot of concerns with this one. And, I think it would be great if they could sell out this stadium. Let's just start it with that. I think it would be completely awesome if they could sell out the stadium or get it, 85 to 90% capacity the way they did in Wembley. But I don't know. That's kind of where we're going to go with it tonight and see what you guys think, get some comments from it and go from there. Miss Danny's got some Dynamite stories to tell us before we dive into it, being we're all AEW tonight. And go ahead, tell us about your Dynamite experience.
Okay, so this is our, 4th Dynamite that we attended. We actually lucked out with Section 2, row 6 seats, so we were right behind commentary. And the cool thing, if you guys have never been to the Wind Trust, it is in Chicago. It's one of the smaller venues compared, obviously, to the United Center, but it's a very cozy, smaller arena. It was a great time. I had, before we went on air, actually, I was telling Connor and Jason about the sign that Wind Trust personnel confiscated that read, "The McCaskies are the reason the Bears haven't won a Super Bowl since 1985. All we want for Christmas are new team owners." And people got to, I walked literally from the parking garage through the skywalk that overlooks Cermak Avenue. So when you go over that, you're going to look left, you look more towards the McCormick Center. And if you look, right's McCormick Center, left, you're going to see Indiana Avenue. So you'll see all the way down Cermak Road. And they confiscated it. And I was like, oh, okay. But the sign that I did have that read, "Mute Excalibur's, do us all a favor, mute Excalibur every so often." So then the back side of it that said, "We drove 202 miles from Wisconsin to hold the sign on TV because Tony Schiavone put our butts in these seats," reference to, I believe, Jason, correct, you're the wrestling historian, but that was the night on Nitro, no pun intended, where Tony Schiavone announced that Mankind was going to be winning the WWE title. That's the day that everybody switched from Nitro to Raw to watch Mankind win. That's kind of what it was referring to when Tony Schiavone said that'll put some butts in seats.
Well, yeah, that came from Eric Bischoff in the headset first and foremost. And Tony wrote a book actually called Butts in Seats. But he said, don't turn the channel because over on the other channel this evening, Mankind, Mick Foley, the guy that performed here as Cactus Jack. Yeah, he's going to win their world title. Boy, that'll put some butts in the seats. And
That's exactly why I wrote it. So then Tony Schiavone and everybody popped for that one. Just when I flipped the Excalibur sign over, Justin Roberts read it and he walked away and he was laughing so hard, like you could see it. And then I had another one that said things I'm thankful for. What did it say? It said family, friends, career, all elite wrestling. When the Packers lose, the crowd popped for that for me. And of course, it didn't help. I was wearing my Chicago hat. And then it said not getting arrested for putting ketchup on a hot dog inside city limits, because in Chicago, you're not supposed to put ketchup on a hot dog. But I don't care. I did it at United Center and I'll do it again. But it was a really good show. We ended up leaving early, mainly because we were trying to avoid the traffic getting out of the arena because it was going to be crazy. And heading 55 actually outbound too was going to be just nuts. So we left early. Other than that, it was a good show. And I missed Connor's girlfriend popping out during that segment because I literally like was standing in the aisle and then I literally turned around and I saw something red and I could see her red hair behind me and it happened like this. So Connor, sorry, I missed a video of your girlfriend.
Yeah, you
but
didn't.
Good show.
Was this last night's Dynamite or last week?
No, this was last week, the Thanksgiving one.
I was going to say last night's show was one of the better ones that I've seen in quite a while. So
yeah, it was the Thanksgiving one. But then the interesting thing too, and I just want to say this too, Jason, what you said, you don't want anything to happen to AEW, but Tony Khan came out towards the end of the show, as he usually does in Chicago, and he did a speech. And let me tell you, there's something going on behind those eyes. I don't know what it is, but he looked, I'll say it right now. And again, say that I, want anything to happen to AEW. I don't. But when you looked as bad as Tony Khan looked when he was doing that speech, I yelled, "Shut up." I mean, he looked awful. Something was just not right about his look. And I don't know what it was.
Well, from his position, I would be stressed too. That, they put out certain things that try to get everybody excited, saying how on the first day, when they did the press conference the other day, kickoff, whatever the hell you want to call it, that they did, $1 million worth of sales in the VIP packages, vacation packages, and stuff like that. But it was like 3,000 tickets that got sold pre-sale, when it went on. And I'm glad 3,000 tickets got sold, but we're talking about a stadium that holds almost 50,000 people that's going to hold more for a wrestling event because of all the seats that'll be down on the field. And like I said, Wembley, England's been craving for a long time. That was a smart move on the AEW's part to go over there and do that the first time. And then last year, they still drew a good amount of people. It wasn't what they drew the first time. The attendance was down a little bit, but still, a very good amount of people for a wrestling show that, that they don't get to see every week or get invested in. And, again, I want to go back to, everybody, when you talk about ratings, you talk about attendance, the first thing people want to shoot out of their mouth is WWE's been around for, shut up. WWE, if you go back, if you remember WrestleMania 7, they were supposed to do it in the Los Angeles Coliseum, which is a very huge football stadium. And they wanted they could have put 100,000 people in those seats because they wanted to break their attendance record from WrestleMania 3 of 93,000, whatever the hell it was. And, that's been speculated over the years. I don't care. But ticket sales were so bad, they had to move it over to a 15,000 seat arena in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum or something like that, wherever they moved it to. So that's happened to them before as well. And they didn't try to run a stadium again for a long time. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm sitting here looking at everything going on, and I'm not really, Moxley and his group it's not doing anything for the audience.
No.
The MJF Adam Cole stuff is just very redundant and ridiculous in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It's confusing too.
I mean, I'm digging the Bobby Lashley swerve stuff. I am, but you can't, you can't go 8 months with that. In my opinion, there's not enough there to take it out that long. And I'm sitting here looking over the roster. There's not a Rock Austin. There's not a Taker Michaels, the iconic performers, to to draw those, to get them on a collision course to get to Texas, to draw in, 50,000 people. And if they have to move venues because they've only sold 10,000 tickets, or, they're tarping off 3/4 of the stadium, it's going to be a very bad look for the company. And I don't want to see that happen. I want to see them, I want to see them, succeed and move forward. But when you get to that point and you have to do stuff like that, I mean, WrestleMania 7 really kind of started the down period for the WWE, WWF, whatever, and it took them a while. I mean, wrestling in the early 90s was bad, both sides of the coin. That's when Turner bought WCW and nobody knew what the hell they were doing there.
Mhm.
The WWF was still trying to do the Doink the Clown and the Bushwhackers, and nobody really wanted to see that anymore either. And it's like, we've talked about Tony's week-to-week booking, and I guess Samoa Joe will be back soon when he's done filming whatever he's filming. I forgot the name of the show, but that was why he was written out. But I mean, look at the stories they got going right now. And in my opinion, it's just my opinion, take it for what it is. We talk about Adam Cole and MJF. That's not going to sustain 7 months and draw 50,000 people. Orange Cassidy and John Moxley is not the only thing that I can halfway see them trying to, keep carrying out to get 7-8 months worth of buildup out of is Moxley's group and the inevitable return of the Elite, with the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page now starting to do that kind of stuff. Hangman Page getting involved now, but Christian and Hook. I mean, there's just, their FTR is not even wrestling anybody. Private Party, I'm glad they won the titles, getting their shot, but I'm looking at it from the point of who and what matches can get people in the states that have, the WWE and AEW coming through all the time to make them interested enough to go spend this amount of money and fill up a 50,000 seat stadium. WWE now, this is where I will give the critics their due on this. Yes, the WWE's been around so long and they've done such a good job of turning WrestleMania into an event. It's not just a wrestling match. It's not just a sports entertainment, happening, whatever. They have turned WrestleMania into a destination event. That's why it's now 2 nights. Coming up in 2025, SummerSlam is now going to be 2 nights. And, God bless Tony Khan. He's got to put his company over, but for him to come out there and say with a straight face, this is going to be the wrestling event in the States of 2025. I'm like, God bless you, brother. Say it with a straight face. Do what you can.
Mhm.
But, like I said, to me, and I know I'm rambling here, but I mean, I'm interested to see what you guys think, on who and what they could possibly book, leading up. I mean, because if you want to blow it off to get, people in there, we've talked about the Who Shot JR with Dallas, that kind of stuff, to get that blow off for the season finale or whatever, however you want to word it, to make people want to tune in, to make people want to, it would take a lot to get me out of my living room to go to something like that. Cause if I can't have a good seat, I'd rather sit in my living room and be comfortable and not be in the middle of a bunch of people I don't know and be able to see it. If I got tickets to WrestleMania and I was going to watch it from one of the screens, I wouldn't go to that either. I want to be able to see the ring. I want to see what's going on. And so I'm very reluctant to, say I think it's going to go well. I hope it goes well, but 3,000 tickets being sold on the kickoff day, and just the lack of storylines going on and the lack of drawing attendance to regular shows. I mean, take Collision and out of the equation. Dynamite's been around for over 5 years now, or right at 5 years, whatever it's been, and you see the lack. You see the numbers between the attendance and the ratings. And ratings. Thank God, come January, WWE's going to be on Netflix, and then they're going to be simulcasting on Max. It's like, good. Maybe we won't be able to get real numbers anymore, so people don't have anything to bitch about. Because I don't care who beats who wins who. If you got one viewer, then it's me watching it. Well, I'm watching it. I don't really give a damn if you did or didn't. And I'm gonna watch both of them. I'm with you. I mean, there's times that Excalibur aggravates the shit out of me so bad that I'll mute the TV and still continue to watch the match. But he just screams all the time, and it drives me absolutely crazy. He's sitting there just screaming line after line. I'm like, dude, shut up. But like I said, getting all in Texas, Overseas, I thought was a very smart idea because people were craving that. In the States, we've got, you got everything here, including the big dog. So what can you do to put 50,000 people in the seats? Because you haven't shown me that you can do that yet.
So what I will say about them possibly having go to another arena, they actually had to do that in Australia. They've got that coming up in February. Grand Slam Australia. They were supposed to be in like a 50,000 seat stadium, and they only sold like 15,000. So they had to go to a smaller building that basically filled 15,000. They said that they sold it out. So they went from like 50,000 seat arena in Australia for Grand Slam to basically an arena style with 15,000 capacity. So it could possibly happen again with All in Texas. And I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. But I think they sell 25 to 30,000 for All in Texas.
You are a much more optimist than I am, sir.
I think that's what they'll probably get. If they're lucky, they'll get 30,000, but they might get 20,000 maybe. If they think that the Elite and Death Riders thing is gonna sell tickets, they're gladly mistaken. Because first of all, the story doesn't make sense because the Young Bucks attack Kenny Omega. How are you going to explain that?
Mm-hmm.
The Young Bucks turned on Tony Khan. How are you going to explain that? Like you can't just automatically put them. Something tells me that's what they're going to do, and they're going to try to forget about what they did previously, kind of like erase that and just have them come out, defend the AEW, and we're just not going to talk about what happened before. Bryan Danielson and Sting was at the rally or press conference, whatever you want to call it. They could do Moxley and Darby win the title, but I don't think that draws either. Darby's good. I like Darby and I like Moxley, but for me, he's been stale for a long, long, long time. And Orange Cassidy. I mean, they're good wrestlers, but being good in the ring isn't always what sells tickets. Eugene told a story on here once that I was at a house show, and it was Sami Zayn and Neville Pac. They had a really good match, but no one cared because there was no really big story behind it. I don't know. Bryan Danielson may wrestle. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan Danielson can wrestle, but they do Danielson and Moxley, which that might sell. I don't know, but they really don't have their like big star. I thought CM Punk was that.
No, he was. You were correct in that statement.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was that when they had him, especially for like their Dynamite Grand Slam 2021. They sold 20,000. They have yet to do that again at Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think they broke 1 million viewers since Punk left either.
No, they haven't.
There's been a lot of speaking of viewership. When they released the CM Punk footage of the All In Jack Perry, since then they have yet to hit 800,000.
Last week, if I remember correctly, it was like 530.
That sounds right. Number wise, that was right.
I don't really care who beats who. I just like to see the numbers do good. I can care less if NXT beats Dynamite or vice versa. As long I just want the numbers to be good. Which some people, there's a lot of fans that are Team WWE, Team AEW. I do enjoy WWE more and watch it more, but that doesn't mean I want AEW to go out of business. That's just personal preference. But they're going to do a lot. I hope to God they don't continue MJF and Adam Cole after World's End. If they continue that feud after that pay-per-view, they're mental. Like, they don't know when to stop. I hope to God they don't, because I don't care who wins. I don't care if MJF wins, Adam Cole. I could care less who wins. Let's get it over with. Let's do something else. Maybe Wardlow comes back in this and attacks Cole. I don't know. I just don't care who wins on that, but I don't know.
I wouldn't have an issue with the feud if MJF had been the one to turn on Adam Cole, but
yeah, like they were
this whole ass backwards stuff they've done with it and trying to make it legitimate on why Adam Cole is the baby face, and I just don't get it.
they never should have turned like they never should have had Adam Cole reveal himself as the devil if he was not cleared. When they revealed himself, he was still in a boot. Like they had to have known that he wasn't going to be able to do anything. Like in my opinion, if you're not medically cleared, then you should not continue a big story because then you don't know what you can do. Like it's kind of like when they did the Undisputed Elite. They had them in the Elite, and then it just went nowhere because Kyle O'Reilly was injured, Adam Cole was injured, Bobby Fish was
on his way out the door. Yep.
Yeah, so they just did it just to do it.
Well, and they still could have did that angle, but like you said, it's just why do you do something if you don't know when you're going to be able to pay it off?
Mm-hmm.
Because people get uninvested.
Really, they do.
And if Cole and O'Reilly being injured, if they wanted to do it and then pay off the feud later, you don't have Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly attack the Bucks. You have the Bucks attack them, and because they're legitimately injured, and then you let them come back when they're ready. But there's a reason that they're out instead of them super kicking the Young Bucks and then nothing.
That's what they. I don't get Tony's booking with that. I don't get it. Like that's just leaving. Like you're leaving like just this the press conference. He said that the AEW video game. He's done this many a times. Where he said that they're going to be releasing more stuff with the game, like new wrestlers are coming out, but that's not the case. Nothing news coming out about the video game, so he's basically setting people up for disappointment. Like you don't say something if because the video game distributor THQ said that they're not releasing anything new, so it kind of makes Tony look kind of stupid for saying that. But I hate when you do something and you don't know if you're going to be able to follow through with it or it's really not happening. Which I thought you shouldn't make a big reveal unless you know that you can fully capitalize on it. You can get the audience's interest. But we'll see with the all-in tickets. We should be getting something from WrestleTix. They post a lot of that stuff. I'll be really surprised if they reach 10,000 when they release the numbers. It's going to be interesting to see.
What do you think, Miss Danny?
Well, I do. Again, this whole MJF Adam Cole thing is just a train wreck from the beginning because here you had an entertaining team with, Max's sarcasm, and he's like, he either plays a cocky, arrogant, rich boy heel, or he plays a comedy role to a T. And he can do either. I personally like him kind of in that in between, that heel and that face role. And this was pure comedy. So then they have him, they have Cole turn his back on him, and then all of a sudden Cole's the devil. And it's almost like, I'm going to use some of my Post-its here. This is Tony Khan's booking. Like, he's okay, here, I'm going to put names in a hat. Oh, wait a minute. Who am I gonna have as the devil? Oh, wait, you're the devil. Here's your mask. You could just tell that there was no thought into that there was like no planning involved. And, and again, the better storyline, that devil storyline. I've said this, oh my God, I'm going to say it again. Punk would have been the best devil with FTR and Wardlow. And why? Because I'm going to get back at the Elite. That's what they should have done. They should have had Punk as the devil and have the Elite attacked. The Elite attacked every week. We don't know who's taking them out, but somebody is. Then eventually, lights go out. Elite's in the ring. Lights go out. They get taken out. Punk pulls off the mask. Boom, there's your devil. That would have been a storyline. If Tony Khan was a leader, we would have gotten that. That would have been a good segue to set up a Punk FTR Elite feud, but we didn't get that. So then you've got Max getting injured. You've got Cole injured with an ankle. Again, why would you have Cole as the devil if he had that ankle injury when he was unable to do anything? That doesn't make any sense. And then you've got Taven and Bennett in there, and then you've got Wardlow. It's like, oh, Wait, you know what? We have to make you a 5. Okay, let's make you 5. Okay, so now, oh, then we had Rod Strong in there. Okay, let's do 5. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Wardlow, you get to be the 5th man. Why would you put Wardlow in there? He didn't serve a purpose in there. The other 4, yes. But then the ultimate purpose, why was Cole picked? Because again, Tony Khan draws names out of a hat. That's how he does his booking. Last time I drew a name out of a hat, it was for the Secret Santa thing at my old job that I just left.
Well, I'll say this, and this is one thing that I'm a pro wrestling fan. So let me just throw that out there. I'm a pro wrestling fan, and I'll watch it all. But one thing that you will hear from a hardcore AEW fan when you try to explain to them why Tony Khan needs to stop going, oh, we book for the psychos.
Yeah.
Sickos.
That too. But, what an hardcore AEW fan will tell you, we don't need the casual wrestling fan. When you want to book a 50,000 seat stadium in the United States of America and you want to get your ratings up, yes, you do. And, like I told you, a lot of people really poo-pooed all over the Boom guys, the Costco guys, whatever you want to call them. I was okay with it. I just thought they should have been on the main show because they've got such a following on the internet, and they, to bring that audience over to AEW. And so I had no issue with that. Like I said, I just thought that match should have been on the main show and not when the arena was still half to 3/4 of the way full with people still coming in the door. And you don't have to change your entire product to start trying to draw in the casual fan. I've said it for, since people started coming over. You want to draw in the casual, you're up against nothing. There's no football on Wednesday nights. There's no wrestling. NXT went that one Wednesday after the election, because of the election, they went off one day, but that's not normal. You had that time all to yourself for professional wrestling fans. And, there's still a lot of people out there, whether people want to admit it or not, that they don't know who Orange Cassidy is. They don't know who Darby Allin is.
I know who Orange Cassidy is. He works at the Gap. Oh.
But what I'm saying is, I know Adam Copeland's hurt, Edge, whatever, but, and I won't even say Adam Cole because he never made it to the main roster. But when you've got Christian and you've got Edge and you've got Bobby Lashley and, some other stars that are familiar to people that are not, invested to watch AEW, that's you put them at the beginning of the show. You put them at the top of the hour. So when people are turning the channel, they see something they recognize. And I didn't know he had left. Let me see what he's doing. I mean, I told you that's the whole reason I started watching WWF to begin with back in the 80s. Big Roddy Piper fan. Roddy Piper was my favorite. I knew he was, I hadn't seen him in a while on Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. I'm turning the TV and it just happened to be the perfect storm that he was walking out with Paul Orndorff because he couldn't wrestle again yet. He was still healing from that busted eardrum in the dog collar match. I'm like, oh, there's my boy. Okay, I'll watch this. And, so I'm just, it's like I said, you're paying these guys that you got from the WWE good money. Even as bad as I didn't like Sasha Banks and I don't like Mercedes Moné. So, but people know who she is. She's recognition. She's a name. There's another one you could start your programming off with, or again, 9:00, top of the hour when people are changing the channel. You got to figure out a way, and there's ways to do it. I mean, even ECW tried to appeal, to, casual fans or like not hardcore fans, but your old school pro wrestling fans by, the Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko type matches that they had that did not involve the tables and the chairs. And, they tried to give you that old school wrestling match that was right there. So there's ways to do it if you listen to people. But, again, if you want to do 50,000 seat stadiums inside the States, you got to start, you got to, reach out. The Costco guys are a good start with their following they have, but you got to start appealing to that casual audience. Because I mean, this is not just AEW. If you look at the contracts that have just been signed with, with Max and TBS, TNT, as well as WWE and Netflix, I guarantee you, these people are good business people. There is an out there somewhere, whether it's, viewership, whatever the case may be, there is an out in those contracts if they need to get out of it. So, you know, 530,000 people on a night that you're not opposed by, hell, even TNA to split that core wrestling base. When you're not opposed by anything for wrestling, not even football, you should be drawing 1 million people. And, CM Punk, that was a perfect storm there as well. All the bullshit that happened in AEW and Vince McMahon leaving, because he's publicly stated that if Vince was in charge, he wouldn't have went back. He'd be sitting home again. So that, that's a perfect storm there as well that caused that. But like I said, use your recognized names instead of sitting there going, well, we're booking for this niche audience. Well, that niche audience is not getting you where you need to be.
See, it's so funny is like Tony Khan said that in an interview that he books for casuals, and that the AEW is going through a lot of links to reach out to casual fans, but he's saying it with just a straight face, like he actually believes it. And
well, I mean, like you said, that All In's going to be the biggest show in the States in 2025. I mean, he said that with a straight face. So,
and he believes it. Probably, he believes it. And when
honestly, I'm surprised. I don't know what the difference is between the two stadiums, but I'm sure the one in Jacksonville probably holds more than the one in Texas because it's a baseball stadium versus a football stadium. But if I was going to try to run a stadium show and I was in their shoes, I would have probably tried to run it in my backyard. That way I could advertise it during all the Jaguar games and, and try to get those supporters that were at Daly's place every week and stuff like that. Try to, give them a reason to come because, Jacksonville sucks, but they got a full stadium every week. So, I mean, that's probably where I would have tried to do it instead of Texas, but that's just me.
Well, and I think too, and again, the irony that last time I was talking with you guys too, we were talking about the show Dallas, and I'm actually watching Dallas on Amazon Prime. I'm on the Dream season, which was known as season 9. And, when you take that writing of that show and how great it was, and we'll talk, J.R. Ewing here briefly because he was the show. It was like, okay, what is he going to do next? What is he going to do now? That's the type of writing that Tony Khan needs. He needs to have writing that's going to make you say, oh, what's going to happen next? What are they going to do? Where are they going to go with this? Because this is like a stop-start thing that it's like, okay, we're going to do this week. Oh, let's do this. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Oh, hold on. Wait a second. Nope, let's do this. His writing is almost like, how would I put it? His writing is the equivalent of a freshman college student in freshman year English with the writing skills of a 5th grader. And I say that with love because his writing is unorganized. His booking is unorganized. His interviews are unorganized. And, people were like, well, he needs a general manager. The only thing Tony Khan needs to do, recognize the talent that he has, use the talent that he has appropriately. That doesn't mean keep Starks at home. That doesn't mean keep Wardlow at home. Yes, I had to say it. That doesn't mean not use Hobbs or Archer or whatever the case may be. Use your people, recognize their strength, recognize facets of their personality that how they connect with the audience, because we're not connected to Mox. We're not connected to this this learning tree with Jericho. He needs to go back to his Judas music and call it a day. Reach out to people with personality. Enzo would be phenomenal on the mic with Max Caster. He would do some amazing promos, but would Enzo be worth the risk that he was in WWE to a degree? That's what Tony Khan needs to do. The second thing Tony Khan needs to do is stop listening to people like, oh yeah, do this. Yeah, this will work. And you already know which two I'm thinking of when I say that. The third thing he needs to do is have someone take away everything from him and just say, here's a check, sign it, and that's it. That's all.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley has actually already done an interview, and he's kind of reiterated a lot of sentiments that people have pushed forward, saying how nice of a guy Tony Khan is and how nice of a boss he is to work for.
Sure.
And Bobby Lashley, he just, like I said, he hadn't been there very long. But he already came out and said, he said, Tony's biggest problem is he wants to be everybody's friend and he wants to make everybody happy. And he's like,
Yeah.
in this business, you can't do that. You got to be able to say no. And he goes, that's the problem we have. And hopefully we can get past it and take this place where it should go. And I'm like, so that's coming from Lashley, who's been around forever and hasn't been there, but 3 months. I know he was already signed before he debuted on TV. They didn't want to debut him with, the returns they had at the pay-per-view. But, that's just that is my concern. I don't want to see this flop. And that's the conversation we're having. If you're just joining us, is it's not poo-pooing on AEW and going, oh, they suck. That's not it at all. It's like, what can they do to make sure that this show is a resounding success? I mean, hell, I'd be happy for him if by some stretch of the imagination, Tony Khan's words came true and it was the show of the year in the United States. I'd be all out there for him, or all in, should say. I would be very happy for him if they could pull that shit off. Between, like I said, you got a 2-night WrestleMania coming up, and then you got a 2-night SummerSlam in 2025. And I think the next one, if this SummerSlam is successful, the next one you're going to see is a 2-night Royal Rumble. Because you got the male and the female Rumble, and you got the world title and the WWE title. So there's 2 big matches that they can put on each night. So like I said, if SummerSlam 2 nights goes well, I think the next one you're going to see is the Rumble. So like I said, they've turned those things into, happenings to events that, like the Super Bowl. You look at how many people go to the damn Super Bowl that, half the stadium's filled. People don't even like football or couldn't tell you what's going on. And Mikey, I get you sickos don't need the casuals, and that's fine. The company does. The company, we're talking about putting 50,000 people in a stadium when 9 times out of 10, we can't even get 5 in an arena. Danny, how full was the arena when you went and saw them in Chicago?
So the interesting thing that we noticed is that I'll give away a little secret. You know how when they're always looking into the camera, they're also looking at a timer to let them know, when to cut the promos and when to cut the match type thing. And Wintrust again is a smaller arena. It looked decently packed, except for that left this side. So we're sitting right here. So it would have been this side that was what they call the hard camera side with the timer on. That was completely blocked off. So, but there was a decent turnout. And you'll see all these pictures all over social media about, empty seats. That's because people, have to you have to wait in line. You go to the concession stands, you go, to the merch stands, whatever, then you find your seats. But we had a pretty decent turnout. And again, I think they did a pretty good ticket. But again, if he wants people to, come to Texas, like we were contemplating going, and we still are, but he's going to need to do something. And this right here, I'm going to drawing names out of a hat does not work for booking. Playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo does not work for booking. Having a writer who, who is not afraid to stand up to him and tell him, no, you can't book like this, is going to do it. And I recommend
Vince Russo's offered his services several times on Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, the last Dynamite I went to was in DC, and this will date it for you. I guess it's been over 2 years now, but it was the beginning of the Adam Cole MJF stuff. It was when, MJF was definitely the heel and he was the champion, and he wrestled Cole, and they went to that time limit draw, and then Cole wanted 5 more minutes, and MJF told him nope and walked away. That was the last Dynamite that I was at. It was the same way. The side that we were on, fully packed, but the other side of the arena with the hard cam, the only seats that they had filled were those right around the ring and the rampway. Everything else was blocked off. So now, and you can still, WWE blocks off a section for hard camera, but the rest of the seats around it are full. And again, this isn't a knock, to AEW. This is, I'm doing my best to try to ration in my head how they're going to put 50,000 people in a stadium in the United States when, like I said, 9 times out of 10, we can't get 5 to an arena. I mean, that's my question. And what they can do to turn this around. They got 8 months, 7.5, whatever you want to call it, to figure that out. And like I said, if they get there and they've only sold 10,000 seats and they have to do like Connor was talking about, like they did in Australia, and move it. I mean, we just got done with the well, we're still not done with it, but the political stuff, Connor, and like political stuff, they're going to put whatever spin on it they want you to hear. So where we know the truth, that they had to move the venue in Australia, their spin on it is they sold out the venue. Whatever. I understand it. It's publicity. I get it. But like I said, if they sell 10,000 seats, 12, 13,000 seats for a 50,000 seat arena or stadium, it's going to be a very bad look for the company. And I think it could start a spiral that, will they get knocked off TV? I don't know. I don't think that. But again, like the WWE Netflix deal, this deal with Time Warner and Max, these companies aren't stupid. There's outs there. So you never know what could happen. And I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see the company get stained by having 13,000 people in a 50,000 seat stadium, or like Connor said with Australia, them having to move down the street to a very teeny tiny, building.
Their average weekly is 2,000 to 3,000 weekly. This last week they got 4,020. They were in Kansas City, Missouri. Week before that, Indianapolis, 2,900. Chicago, 4,700. Like for this next Dynamite, they're going to be in Washington D.C. They're at 1,600. And the last time they went there, they had 6,000. And they're barely at 2,000. So
when's that one?
This next Wednesday, the Holiday Bash. They went there in 22, and
that's when I was there. The Adam Cole MJF kickoff.
According to Wrestle Ticks, they had like 5,000-6,000. They're barely at.
It was full on the, the one side, and the other side where the hard cam is, like Denny was talking about, the seats around the ring were full, and then you had this, seats going up the rampway, but everything else, the main seats going up, was blocked off. So,
yeah, they're definitely going to have a lower attendance than that time. That's 1,600, down like 4,000 from the last time they were there. So,
well, the thing with that frustrates me is he's got Daly's place that he could run, but he claims to be such a historian. But that's why Bischoff, when he first came in and took over, and I don't know, it's just things he did, people. So I'm not sitting here saying Bischoff knew everything. He did some good things, he did some bad things. But when he first came in and took over, his first goal was to make a profit, because it had never made a profit as long as Ted Turner owned it. He just wanted to make $1. He didn't want to lose money. But he took all the stuff out, all the house shows away, excuse me, and started running center stage for their TV tapings, because you got the fresh audience from Disney. They weren't trying to sell tickets. It was just, people got to switch out audiences. And of course, being Disney and MGM Grand, it was well lit. And, I'm not saying he needs to go that route, but I mean, if you need to start running Daly's place, 2 weeks out of the month just to get it full, or find you a venue. ECW was taped pretty much in the same place every week as well, at the ECW arena. There's ways to do it, make it look full, because the more excited the audience looks on TV, the more excited you can get the viewer at home. And the numbers are lower than what, Mikey? I mean, you got a damn Hulk Hogan picture up there, so I'm not really sure how serious to take you when it comes to AEW, brother. But
like, if you want to see all these numbers, you can go into Wrestle Ticks. They estimate this for WWE and AEW, and I keep up with them. I mean, if you just can't handle the harsh truth, that's just you, I guess.
The only time I get aggravated with the numbers is, I don't really get aggravated. I just laugh about it. Is when they're comparing Dynamite to NXT. It's like, dude, you got Jericho, you got Edge, you got Christian, you got Bobby Lashley, you got Paige, you got the Elite, Omega when he's there, you got Adam Cole, and you want to jump up and down and do backflips when they beat NXT. That, that's another one that the casual wrestling fan doesn't really watch, because they don't know who they are. They don't care to know who they are. NXT's in the same arena every weekend. Now, if, it wasn't NXT running on Tuesday, but it was, SmackDown or Raw running on Tuesday, and y'all beat them, whether it was by 10 viewers or 3,000 viewers, and you're beating Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Yeah, jump up and down. Do your victory dance. Do your victory lap. If that's what makes you happy. Like, so this is not a shot at the AEW. I watch it all. It's just I want to see them succeed. And right now, from where I'm sitting, I'm looking at every zigzag path that I can try to find to where they can get to 50,000 tickets sold at the stadium, and I just don't see it.
Like even like NXT and like several weeks NXT's beaten Dynamite and like some weeks without main roster talent, because the first 2 weeks during the CW they had CM Punk, they had Randy Orton,
yeah.
But even after that, they still beat them without main roster talent. And like, how did we get here? Like 2 weeks ago, Dynamite would get 950,000 and NXT would get barely 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did we get here to NXT being so close? And NXT has traveled a little bit since being on the CW. They went to Chicago, St. Louis, the ECW Arena, Philadelphia, and then this next year they're going to Massachusetts. I'm not sure what part, but they're traveling a little bit. But they're more so in Orlando, Florida, at the Performance Center. Like, that's where they're mostly at. So obviously Dynamite would beat them in attendance any week.
Yeah, the NXT tickets are free. Actually, I'm not sure if you're aware of that. There's a place to go sign up for it, and if you get them, they send you an email to a link to print them out and
do you want to say hi, Dad?
or really download them or something.
Yeah, like I really want to go to one of those because if even watching lives in Florida, like around Orlando, that's free to go to. There's a Facebook group I'm in that does that, and you sign up and you get free tickets, and I believe you meet at the Universal Studios.
Yeah, then you take some kind of bus over there or something, and you're there till the end, till it's time to leave and take the bus back to your car.
I'd like to do that at least one time.
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to talk about NXT for a second. The best part of NXT for a while, and it's just getting progressively better, and hats off to them, is the women's division. Those women are tearing it up.
I do like Lash. What is her name? Lash
Legend.
Lash Legend, and that shorter girl. I can't think of her name.
If you hadn't asked me, yeah.
I do like them, and I know she's dating Trick, and I do like Trick Williams. Briefly, I just want to introduce our little pal over here. This is Dax Michael Briscoe, after Dax Harwood, Wardlow, and Jay Briscoe.
Oh. Hello, kitty cat.
Hi. You want to say hi? There you go. I just had to introduce him because he was just sitting here. So, Uncle Dax, love you. Wardlow, you already know I'm nuts about you. So, but there's the namesake. Okay, goodbye. Go away.
Yeah, but I mean, with the addition of Julia, Stephanie Vacker, Ricor, whatever you want to call her, Zarya, I can't remember what she was going by on the Indies, and the women they already had. Those Lash Legend. I joke every time she comes out there. I say, well, I hope Trick don't piss her off, because he might come back a little worse for wear. But and Deshaun called me Soul Ruka. That soul stature she's got for a finish is amazing. I mean, those women are just tearing it up. And if you watch NXT here lately, I mean, the majority of it's women, and they just main evented the last pay-per-view they had. The Soul Survivor. They had the men's, they had the title match, and then at the end of it, the women main evented, and they tore the house down. And good for them. And I was happy to see. Speaking of women, I was happy to see Toni Storm come back last night as Toni Storm.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of people that wanted to argue online when she said however she worded that retirement stuff she did. I'm like, she's not retiring. She's retiring the damn timeless character. Read what she wrote. Yeah. And she did. She came back out as her normal self last night, and Mariah May with that bitchy look on her face. And that's the way it went off. Good for the women to get the main event. And if that's what it takes to put 50,000 asses in seats in Texas, by God, give me the women. Man, stop asking what the numbers are. Look them up. They're on WrestleTix, you moron.
I guess.
Yeah, Mikey. I retired from teaching last week. So how about a 5,000-word essay on the history of pro wrestling? MLA format. It's due by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have fun.
WrestleTix.com. It'll show you anything you need. Or you can go to Cage Match. For God's sake, Cage Match will show you
there you go.
Show you the numbers. There's so many places you can find them. And it doesn't matter if it's 10-5 or 20-15 or whatever. It's the ratings. When you can't get 3,000 people in a damn arena, whether it's the Capital One building in DC or any of these other small arenas around. Again, where we're going and what we're trying to do is find a road to where they get 50. I don't care what the TV viewers are. We're trying to find a road that's going to put 50,000 asses in those seats inside of the Texas Stadium. That's what we're trying to figure out, how they can get there, how they can possibly, get people, enough people interested, not just the people that's going to watch it like us is going to watch it regardless, or the hardcore AEW fans is going to, watch it and jack off and say how smart Tony Khan is. They already got those people, we there's still 35,000 other people to go. How do they get there?
Which I feel like they've lost. Like I know a lot of people who used to watch AEW who doesn't watch anymore. But they used to watch every single week and then they stopped. Sometimes when you lose fans, it's hard to get them back. WCW learned that.
Well, and I'll go this far too. For people, y'all are just y'all don't like AEW, man. Stop. We're pro wrestling fans. AEW has been good for the business. I've said on several occasions. Once the WWE bought WCW, their product went to shit. It was just bad, but they didn't care. They didn't have any competition to go against. They were the only game in town, and that was bad for not only the viewers, but for the performers, because if they got fired there or, didn't get re-signed, they had nowhere to go. AEW has given us an alternative. AEW has given the boys and the girls an alternative where they could go and make good money. It's been great for the business. But I do stop and wonder, Paul Heyman has said on numerous interviews as well that ECW wasn't meant to last. ECW was meant to change the business, which it did. Now, like I said, Tony Khan's the Khan family trust, there's money, there. It's not going to go away until his dad's had enough, if things get that bad. So it'll be around a lot longer than ECW could have ever thought about, because the Heymans didn't have the Khan money. Most people don't. But again, I don't want to see them flop at the show. That's my main concern. And I'm hoping they can figure out a way to get there.
Well, and I think part of it too, and I question, in the beginning when we first, were introduced to AEW and Dynamite, when they first got that deal, I think a lot of people were excited because they wanted to see something different. They were tired of the heavily scripted WWE that was, obviously, pre-planned in advance, and there's nothing wrong, with obviously doing, writing, 6 months, that WWE does, which is great because if someone gets injured, outside of the arena, like Bailey did, I guess, training when she came down with that injury, you can always rewrite stuff or edit it, to where it still makes sense. You just have different players in the storyline, which is fine. And I think a lot of people in the beginning were excited to see this because, again, it was something new. It was something different. And I think, we're, 1 year in, 2 years in, and I think 3 years in with the whole, media scrum when Punk outed Tony Khan. I think Tony Khan started losing credibility. I think he started losing credibility when all that stuff happened, because that's all stuff that you want to keep backstage. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, we weren't aware of the politics that Hogan practiced because it was well hidden. Just like with that Bash at the Beach speech when Russo went out there and cut that scathing promo on Hogan, and Hogan said, this is the reason why this company it's in, because of BS like this. Then Russo comes out and cuts the real promo on Hogan. It was like, wait, is this real or is this not real? So then they quickly had to cover that up and quickly, work to find a solution. But with Tony Khan, when all that stuff started with Punk and the Bucks and Page, when the Bucks literally used Page, to get under Punk's skin, Punk, we went off script, we addressed it. that's when the credibility started losing. And that's when things started unraveling and things started getting exposed for Tony Khan's leadership, and he lost credibility is what happened. If he would have been able to say, okay, you know what, we're going to mute your mic, we're going to stop this, then maybe things would have been different. But when you have that and you're just sitting here and you're like this, like, and you're not doing anything, your credibility shot, and people are not going to tune in. People
Well,
are going to forget about
you know, whether you like it or don't, one thing the WWE has done over the years, we talk about the scripted promos, and it's, you know, people have come out and said, you know, as long as they're doing that, you know, it's hard fetched to try to get a, you know, an iconic character like a Hulk Hogan or a, you know, Ric Flair, a Rock, a Stone Cold, a Roddy Piper, if they're coming out there, you know, and some of those guys do and girls do a real good job of making the scripted promo their own. But what WWE has done, it's a good company decision, and it's a good company direction, is that, you know, if you go back in the annals of history and, you know, Hulk Hogan took time off to go film a movie or do whatever it is Hulk Hogan wanted to go do, you know, WWF attendance went down the toilet, you know, until he came back. You know, if Ric Flair wasn't on a show in the NWA, Crockett, the attendance, that's why Ric Flair was doing 2 and 3 shots a day sometimes. They would, you know, fly him from place to place. He'd go on middle of the card somewhere. They'd fly him and he'd run in there and change again and go on in the back. You know, same with Rock, Austin, all those guys in the 90s. You know, if they weren't there, you know, the people, the attendance showed it, the ratings showed it, people turned the TV. But now they have done such a good job of putting all these people on about the same level. You know, even Roman Reigns, if Roman Reigns, you know, who is the biggest paid star they have, he takes 6 months off. The ratings aren't affected. The pay-per-view numbers aren't affected. The pay-per-view attendances aren't affected. CM Punk gets hurt. He's off TV. I mean, really, not that I don't like Drew McIntyre, but, you know, until he popped up last Monday, like, damn, I forgot he was gone.
Yeah,
you know,
I did too.
They have done such a good job of, I mean, and so they're overflowing with main event talent right now. They really are. And they've done such a good job of elevating people that, you know, whether they're hurt or whether they want to go have a baby or whether they want to take time off just to go home and rest their body, you know, yeah, the first couple of weeks, if you're a big fan of that person, you're like, hey, damn, he's gone or she's gone. But then you're like, you kind of forget about it because there's so many people there that they've elevated. And Morrison, you know, that's what we're talking about, is how to get them back up there, how to get AEW back. I don't want to see them get back to where they were. I want to see them get past where they were. I want to see them, you know, get off because I don't want to say they're on a downward spiral anymore, but they've kind of flatlined, in my opinion. They've kind of, they were here, they kind of did this for a little bit, and now they're here. And what I was getting to with the, you know, with them elevating so many people and being scripted, this promos being scripted, you know, you can love CM Punk, you can hate CM Punk. I've said several times he's definitely not. I'm not very high on him. I mean, he does what he does. He's, you know, a lot of people like him, a lot of people don't, but people talk about him either way. And when all hell broke loose in AEW, then, you know, and he was gone. Like I said, they haven't done 1 million viewers since a man left. You know, you can hate him all you want to, but the numbers are the numbers. And no, Mikey, I'm not lying. Look it up. You know, so it's just a matter of, again, and I hate to sound repetitive, I'm just trying to find an avenue to where they can put 50,000 seats and even get close to what Tony Khan said about being the premier show, the top show in the States for 2025. Good luck to them and God bless them. And we're coming up on about the hour. Connor, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I do want to answer this. What they could do, they need to get Collision on a better footing. What they get right now is just not what Collision started out being is what it should have been. I think they need to sign a writer, somebody. Tony Khan does not need to be. He does not need to be booking anymore. Obviously, when Punk and Cody was there was a little bit more creativity with creative. But since Cody, especially Cody, he's not there, things have changed. It's not the same booking it was 2-3 years ago. He does not need to be. He does not need to be booking anymore.
No, he doesn't.
Especially with how things are. Nothing he does is going to get people to watch. Nobody cares about hologram. Nobody cares about 5-star matches. and nobody cares about just good
Dave
matches.
Meltzer.
I mean, you can have good matches all day, but if it's not drawing, it's just not drawing. There's a lot of things they need to do, but will Tony Khan do it? Probably not. And that's the hard part about it. I don't think he's going to change. If he does change, it would be better for the company, and AEW might get on a better footing. I said it before. Ever since they released that footage, they've went down, 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 down. Like they're consistently like they're trying to top how low they can go. It seems like the numbers are down, pay-per-view buys are down, ratings are down. Like, there's not one thing that's up right now. I guess catering to the sickos is what's up. I guess that's the only thing that's doing good.
Well, you talk about good matches too, and that's another part of history that he needs to go back and relearn or refresh his memory on. When WCW beat the WWE in the 90s for 83 weeks, WWE, if you go back and watch those pay-per-views and Monday Night Raws, the main events that WWF were putting on with people like Stone Cold and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels were head and shoulders above the main events WCW was putting on. But do you think Hogan, Hall, and Nash were putting on 5-star matches?
No.
I mean, they couldn't put on a 5-star match combined. But the NWO storyline, you'd have a Jericho Psychosis match to kick off Nitro after a promo from the NWO, or Sting or somebody of that nature, and then they would go and they would put the cruiserweights in that would have a phenomenal match, and then they would continue the storyline, and then you would get a 10-15 minute, Hall, Nash, Hogan, Goldberg, main event that wasn't worth a shit, but it culminated the storyline. And so there's ways to do both if you do it. And Connor Morrison asked you a question. I'm gonna answer this. I think they can. It's just a matter, like Connor said, he's got to change. Whether he wants to give the book to somebody. And like I said, if you really want to do it yourself, you hire somebody that knows what they're doing. You still got Jake Roberts there, for crying out loud. That doesn't seem to ever get used. And you sit there and, you got money, you do not seem like a stupid individual to me. You're smart enough to know, like kids in class, okay, how did you get there? Why are we doing it that way? And that's not a shitty thing. It's I need to learn. Why are we going this way versus I would have went that way? Why are you going this way? Explain it to me. And if you got somebody there that can help you through that, like kids moving up grades, you learn, and in 5 years, it doesn't seem like Tony Khan's learned a damn thing, in my opinion. Connor,
he's also got Adam Copeland there too. He's got Christian there. They've been in the business, 25 years? That's combined experience. He's got Jim Ross back there. He's got Tony Schiavone.
Jim Ross has said several times on his podcast that don't nobody listen to shit back there, and he just quit trying.
Yeah, he's got that. He could even Nigel McGuinness. I mean, he's got people there that can help him, but it's more so when you're the type of person that you are either like me, like in the classroom, I was always afraid to ask for help, largely because whenever I did, I never got it. Maybe he asked for help when he was a kid and is too embarrassed to ask for help. But regardless, he needs to do something, because when he released the footage, for starters, I still don't know the purpose of releasing that footage. Like, what did it really do other than add to the Bucks heel character? I mean, it's not like anybody really cared about their heel run anyway. It's not like it was something worth watching, because it was just basically an on-screen, what I believe truly is an on-screen version of them. Like, they tried so hard to be heels. They tried so hard to be these cocky guys that you work with. I couldn't help but think that's who they are in real life. It's just like it's being like a fictionalized version of themselves, pretty much. And when they released the footage, like, what was that? What did that really do? All that showed was that Jack Perry said something, got in Punk's face. Jack Perry went like this, like he was trying to, bump his shoulder, like bump him, and Punk responded. And then Punk goes around to the right side to the corner and is like this. And it basically showed that Tony Khan might have been scared, but he did not fear for his life. That
Well,
guaranteed.
and that goes back to it as well. They released that right after CM Punk did his interview with Chris Van Fleet.
Right.
And, I can completely see releasing the footage if it was completely ass backwards of what Punk had said in the interview.
Mhm.
But if you watch the footage, and if you watch the footage simultaneously while CM Punk's talking about it and the footage is going on, Punk describes exactly what happened.
Yeah.
To a T.
And Punk was telling the truth.
And it's like, you don't have to like the guy, but damn, he wasn't the one who, maybe, other stuff had happened backstage, so I can't completely say he wasn't at fault, but in this instance, he was the one telling the truth, about, get me the hell out of here, man. Just let me go.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And like I said, it was a perfect storm that brought him back to the WWE. Vince leaving, the shit that went down in the AEW. And like I said, if I'd have been Tony Khan with that, I'd have been like, hell, after that interview, hell no, we ain't showing the footage. Like, I'd have just come out and said, you know what, we're not going to talk about it. He's got his side, he's got his thoughts on it. We've got ours. We're moving on. There's no way in hell I would have showed that.
But again, imagine though, remember when this happened and when when Punk came, we were just like, oh my God, we were so excited. We were over the moon. I mean, it was, a magic moment for Punk, who said, I'm never going to step foot in wrestling again, to come into AEW. But then you've got the Bucks, who probably said, yeah, we can work with him. We can work with them. But when they got there, what happened? They got scared because they didn't want to lose their spotlight. So we started let's get under his skin campaign. Okay. So they used Paige. Well, what if Tony Khan would have stopped it right there?
I agree. He should have grabbed a hold of Adam Page as soon as he come back through that curtain and said, I don't know what the hell you just thought you did, but you need to go home and think about it.
If Tony,
I'm writing you off TV.
Like if he would have handled it then, the all-out media scrum never would have happened.
Exactly.
No, it wouldn't have.
Exactly.
It never would have gotten as far as it did.
But you talk about people being hurt, and one of the things Punk said in his interview when he got squashed by Moxley to lose the title was, he was legitimately not cleared to compete. And Moxley threw that idea out there, and he was just like, I can't. And he's like, Tony Khan kept talking and talking, and he said he finally looked at Tony and was like, is this what you want me to do? And Tony was like, yeah, if you don't mind. He's like, fine. And he went and did it. And talking about Moxley, it's been rumored, and you don't know what's going to happen happening backstage, that he's not thrilled with this storyline. He's not thrilled with the whole Death Riders. This is not your company anymore. He's not real thrilled with how that's going. So, I don't know how long his contract's got left, but if that's the case, I completely see him leaving as well.
Well, and the other thing I want to point out too is, okay, let's go back, to the whole Punk thing. Okay. What if Tony Khan, you're right, Jason, would have said, okay, you do that again, you're going to go home and think about it. Then you had the meeting, you had the media scrum, and then you had, I think it was the meeting that Punk wanted that the Bucks turned down. Okay, what if Tony Khan would have said, okay, we're going to have the meeting, Bucks either show up or you're fired? What if that would have happened? Would that have changed anything? Or the fact that what if Punk would have said, okay, you know what, I'm not going to wrestle, I'm going home. Would that have changed anything? I mean, there's just so many different factors that go on with this. And then too, now we've got, it's interesting that Mox doesn't like the storyline. You'll wonder how Renee feels, in all honesty. But again,
she never looks happy in the back.
Yeah, just everything going on. And then you've got the whole Ricky Starks thing where he's sitting at home waiting for something to do. And, he's not even on TV. Wardlow's not on TV. I mean, it's just, you just got to wonder what is going through the talent's head, and why not
Miro's at home, not on TV. He's asked for his release. They would not give it to him.
Yeah.
And now you got the Ray Phoenix stuff where he's coming out, talking about medical, and and Tony Khan's response to that was it was a language barrier thing, that they would never put their talent in danger. There's just a lot a lot of stuff that's going on. And I'll tell you, talk about the whole thing with Punk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, him bringing Punk in and knowing the history, well, the very recent history of Colt Cabana and CM Punk, that should have been handled before Punk ever, I mean, he could have signed the contract, but
Right.
before he ever walked in the door, pull the Elite aside. Hey, I know this is your buddy, but this guy's going to draw us some money. He just can't be. I'm not going to fire him. I wouldn't do that to him. I like him, but I can't have this because I need this guy. We need this guy to get us to the next level. When Punk is scheduled, this guy can't be in the building. I'll still pay him, but he can't be in the building. And because that's where the whole, you started with Adam Page, but that's who Adam Page was trying to take up for when he went off script with CM Punk was Colt Cabana. And that should have been handled by Tony Khan before Punk ever walked in the door, before he ever walked through to start introducing himself to the people in the dressing room.
Yeah, which is in his interview, he said that Colt Cabana went up to him, and that probably set off a lot of things. He said that he came up to him and said something, and then Punk said, "I won't talk to you without my lawyer." Like, nothing's ever handled in this company. Like, it seems like there's not one clear boss. I don't believe anything Meltzer says, but this kind of makes sense. He said that a lot of people have creative control, like Jericho, Moxley, a lot of the bigger names, and they get to do whatever they want to do in their storylines. And it's probably in the back, too. They get to do whatever they want. Swerve kind of said that same thing, that he gets to do whatever he wants. Like, there's an interview, he said that. He gets to do whatever he wants, which there needs to be one boss, one person above him creative, and that's it. You don't need Moxley over creative, Jericho, because then it just... I don't think wrestlers should have... Like, it's fine to have some creative freedom, but to a certain extent, you can't have the wrestlers booking the wrestlers.
I mean, in my opinion, you stop and look at what started, to me, the downfall of WCW was Hogan's creative control and Bischoff has said that was the first time he ever used it, was with Sting, because he didn't think Sting was tan enough or built enough coming in for that match at Starrcade 97. And he changed the finish because he was supposed to lay down clean. And, then it just kind of all went to hell in a handbasket. But you've also heard other people come out and talk, about not having one boss in the back. Is, a lot of people said even when Bischoff was in charge, that there were so many chiefs in that little teepee that, people just did what they wanted to do, because there wasn't there wasn't that Vince McMahon to throw the hammer down and say, "You're fired." It was a big old system that went through, and they kind of did what they wanted to do.
Before we, I want to get to your question, Morrison. Do you think they will? They can. If Tony really wants to, they can. But do I see them doing it? Do I see it happening? I don't know. If I'm going to be honest, probably not. If I'm being honest, but I hope they do. I don't want to see them go out or anything. I mean, like a lot of people will say, because I have different opinions about AEW, they'll say that I just want it to go out of business, but I don't. Like,
that's everybody. That's everybody's go-to if you criticize them at all.
Like, critiquing the product is not saying I want them to go out. Like, you will never come across me saying I hope they go out of business. You'll never hear me say that, or like any company. But I hope they can, Morrison. But we'll see. We'll see for sure.
I think what would go a long way is the next time somebody looked at Tony when he wanted them to do something, whether he was right or wrong, doesn't matter. And they looked at him and said, "That doesn't work for me, brother." He come back with, "You're fired," and he made it public why he fired him, or he did it right there in front of everybody. It only takes one to set an example. My fiance is a school teacher, and I joke with her all the time. I said, if I was teaching school, what I'd do the first day of the year? She said, "Oh, dear God, what?" I'm like, I'd find the SRO, buddy up with the SRO and say, "All right, look, man, I'm not going to call you for something stupid. When I call you, it's going to be because somebody did something, but I'm going to find me a huckleberry, and we're going to set the tone for the year right today. We're going to let the rest of these kids know that we ain't playing around. we're gonna find our Huckleberry to make an example out of today. She's like, will you stop? I'm like, I'm just saying, I'm gonna set the tone day one and let the rest of these little assholes know that it ain't gonna fly in this classroom. She's like, I wish it was that easy. I said, you mean a sub for you? I'll show you how to do it. But
oh, I can hang out with your fiance and I'd probably lose my mind, but still, I mean, I see what you're saying. And when you're a leader, if you don't have the expectations for your team, they're going to walk all over you. You're going to have people that want to leave and you're not going to have anything. And again, I've said that before. That's part of the reason why I retired last week from teaching. If you can tell that I'm less exhausted, less stressed. I quit my job last week because of 45-minute drive. I was done. I was done being told what I wanted to hear just to keep me there. And I feel much better about my decision. Yet at the same time, again, as somebody that's worked for schools that have had senior leadership and no standards for leadership, it makes for a very toxic work environment. So again, you can't give people like Monet. I heard from one of the parents at my old whose son was in my after school program that Monet's got creative control with her character. I can kind of see that. I can kind of see everyone else having creative control. But again, Tony Khan needs to figure out what he can do with who he has and figure out their strengths or weaknesses and book according to their strengths and work on the weaknesses.
Well, I'll say this for it. And for everybody in the comments, this goes for just anybody. In any walk of life, whether it's your personal life and letting people walk over top of you, whether it's your job, letting them take advantage of you, or, a situation like backstage in AEW, what you allow is what will continue.
Mhm.
And until you
Absolutely.
until you make an example out of somebody and let people know whatever part of your life we're talking about, home, work, wrestling, until you make an example out of somebody to show the rest of them that you're not going to tolerate their bullshit anymore, it's going to continue and it'll get worse until you
Mhm.
actually get put in a position to where you might not want to do something, but you have to do something.
Mhm.
And you
Absolutely.
and he didn't do it with Punk. And hopefully if some kind of situation turns around, happens again, maybe he's thought about it for a little bit about how he would handle something like that. And but I appreciate everybody's input, brother. And so we will be back. We're here every Thursday. Might be a little bit later than 8 o'clock next week. I got a Christmas party, but I'll get back as quick as I can so we can get down to it and lie about some more numbers. I lie about them there numbers, man, because kiss my ass. But for the diva, Miss Danny, our boss man that makes everything happen, Connor. My name is Jason V. Ingram, WrestleZone Unfiltered.